Labor's kind of hot. Being on all fours, cleaning up other people's messes, it's super sexy.
2013. What a year. We had GTA, Line,
Made. Coming summer 2039.
and Miley Cyrus Wrecking Ball video. Ugh. Flip Shop was on top, and we found out Mateo had a fake girlfriend. It was truly just simpler times. You didn't actually need unemployment to actually know about the drama that's going on. Seriously, do we really need an hour for this? But to a lot of people, especially on the internet, it was just a fun time to be on the internet. Twitter wasn't a cesspool, Tumblr was still a thing, and most importantly, there was a better chance of seeing something go viral.
I'm Ian from Smosh.
I'm Anthony from Smosh.
And I'm Ray from...
It wasn't then where things just felt so manufactured, where people would just leech onto the latest trends and try to get the most bucks out of it. It actually felt like that people were doing creative things, or at least had talent that just wasn't discovered yet. Or you're me and a troglodyte. But before things how it was in the modern day, where companies are a little bit more lax and will let free stuff go on streaming services or even on YouTube, there was channels that were trying to really grasp what's the feeling of the internet. And one of them was Fox. Now, I think we all know what we're talking about when we say Fox. Not the sensationalism, but we're talking about the regular Fox. The one that has the NFL on it. And out of all the big networks, the one that would be considered the most experimental. At the time of 2010 and 2012, Fox was in kind of a little situation with their late night programming. See, around this time period, it was really more of that weird changing of transitions, as the Saturday night slot was always considered the slot for the adults, but with the time of this coming, it was more kind of losing its luster. It wasn't as much then, but it definitely was showing later on in the decade. As for Fox, Fox really didn't have that signature spot. I'm sure that we all have our own respective Fox channel, and we all know what comes on a rerun on those late nights. By the time of 2010, Mad TV kind of lost its luster. Talk show with Spike Fernston ended.
Fox Saturday. How do you like your Spike? Shaken or stirred?
I hear it kills people.
And the Wanda Sky show kind of flopped in some ways. As being bold, Fox kind of figured out the one thing that made people interested in cable, and which it was its variety. And it went for the route that Cartoon Network did. It created its own cartoons. You might have a keen eye, you might be saying to yourself, wait a minute, are you talking about animation domination? The one that usually happens after football? Well, no, but I will explain later what really happened to the... No, we're talking about animation domination, high def, or Fox ADHD. In which it was their own way of trying to get more original programming for that late night slot for adults. And they did it in the way that most shows did before it became relevant to post these on the internet. Fox decided to make these shorts with Adult Swim alumni so they can actually get that demo that they're looking for. And with that, they try to get 6 shows to be their staples, while they would produce shorts that would periodically run throughout the time of 90 minutes, in which actually most of them are actually on YouTube. And
eviscerate all believers, non-believers, and the undecided, especially Mackenzie B.
We sharing a bed?
Stupid Shinji, I'm the greatest pilot in the world.
You and me both. You wanna
Let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go.
What? What the fuck?
holy crap, 2013 through 2016 was such a different time period. And so before I actually talk about these shows, let's actually give a little rundown of these channel blocks and how these usually function. By this time, like I've said before, their ultimate mission was trying to find more shows that they can be putting onto different slots so they can have more revenue pushed out. In which the whole reason why a lot of this would happen is either a couple things. Either A, they have a good idea, but they don't know if it's really going to sell. B, there's a junior staff member that actually has a good idea, but they need to flesh it out to fully see if it's actually capable for television, and C, it's for risk management. Now, this kind of thing doesn't happen as much now because, let's just be for real, if you're someone that knows how to use Blender or pretty fast with animation, you can just go on YouTube and get an audience. I swear, if you're just a somewhat notable name, there's probably a good chance that somebody in Hollywood would give you a bag to make a show. Nonetheless, Fox had 6 of these shows, and I'm going to be reviewing them and giving my thoughts on them. Now, viewers' pleasure advise, as some of these had to be tweaked in ways so I don't have to get killed by copyrights. But I'm sure that you can find these and watch them yourself. But no further ado, let's actually see what happened to Fox ADHD. Before I put the Christmas with LeBron song on.
That was the day he became X-Call.
Now, this one might be considered the most successful because it originated from a comic and it was somewhat popular in the scene at the time, and it even had its own video game, and that would be Axe Cop. Axe Cop is from Ethan Nicole and a series where it was created for his little brother Malachi. In its own clearest way, it takes the idea that his little brother had and runs with it.
And he goes, "You want to play Axe Cop?"
Because it is all that what it is. It's literally the idea of giving a little kid a show and seeing the stuff that he would come up with. As the webcomic would have gone viral with the brother going on and off with the series and catching the eye of Fox with the idea with this block. And somehow getting notable voice actor Nick Offerman and given the bump of star power.
Learns information about me. Seems like an invasion of privacy.
How does these episodes go? And honestly, it's the good kind of stupidity like I said. With episodes being silly and having fun that has a retaining form, like zombies in space, taking out all the bad guys, even going into the center of the ocean. These episodes typically go into being absurdist humor. There's even times where you can just tell that they were just having fun doing the voiceovers. Because let's be real, who wouldn't want to see sharks and a tiger having war? And even episodes that the rabbit broke the rules, devolving into a master versus student because of the child's soul was the rabbit. Because with a show named Axe Cop, you would think that it would be something cop related, right? Well, yeah, they're going on investigations, but the one thing that is really the best part of it is just how unstoppable and rule-breaking that it gets, especially with Axe Cop. It is just one of the things that you can just think of when you're playing something with a little kid and the little kid changes the roles on the spot and you kind of just roll with it because it's literally Axe Cop, but instead of the childishness, it's literally just that he's unstoppable. Of course, you have his loyal sidekick, Flute Cop, in which it's more of a dynamic of, yeah, they're best friends, but he's just the Robin to his Batman.
It's a recorder, like a, you know, I'm like, what is that, like a flute or something? What am I, Flute Cop? He's like, yeah.
My name is Flute Cop.
In which this would bring into the question of, is this what real cops have to do in the universe? No, this is just what Axe Cop does because he just doesn't want to do normal people work. He's so real for that. As I said, there is a video game out there, and it was actually developed in 2020, and it's pretty much a RPG nonetheless, with NES style pixel art. So if you're a super fan of Axe Cop and you really wanted to play the experience of being Axe Cop, well, here it is. And to put it like this, if you really thought the show was really chaotic, just imagine how it would be and just kind of put in the rule set of how most RPGs are. If you're wondering what is my favorite episode out of Axe Cop, it is probably Babysitting Unibaby, in which Flute Cop and his wife are going on vacation, and so Axe Cop has to look over Unibaby. By the way, Unibaby is Flute Cop's son that happens to have a unicorn horn. In which, again, it's just pure shenanigans. They go to a magical planet in Sakurang. Trust me, it's one of those shows where it's so chaotic that you kind of want to watch another one because you just don't want it to end until it finally ends. Like, be for real. There's an episode where Axe Cop saves God. Like, you're telling me you wouldn't want to see that?
Dinosaurs to kill. I will chop your heads off!
Wait, where are you going? He just jumped off. Yoshi left behind, discarded at the goal. Turns out that Mario is an asshole.
Hey, you started without me.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Now we're getting to one of the ones that I actually liked watching during this block's heyday, but which so many times of this getting interrupted by college football, I would always be sad because this one would usually be the first one on rotation, and that would be High School USA. High School USA was created by Salopoulos, who, oh shit, he made Moral Oral? Yeah, this show was more interesting just because of that and the premise of the show. When unique challenges coming up as growing up, I think we all have grown up at some point, and if you're a child, what are you doing here? Go finish your homework first. But having a positive attitude helping towards facing current world situations at the time.
Nope, still got it.
I'm so jealous of your virginity. I totally want to make out with it.
Taking a picture of his dick and sending it to every girl in the school.
Sounds like you just need to concentrate harder on being gay.
Doing all that dirty, kinky stuff on the internet and not telling me all the perverted details?
Maybe she just forgot to tell you that your dad was whipping her and spitting in her face.
Now, if you've watched Moral Oral, you kind of know the kind of twist this would go into. It's not what you think it would be.
Epic fail.
Actually, it's kind of an epic win, because his dying wish was to use his life insurance to buy me an even cooler car than he could have afforded when he was alive. Isn't that great? In a sad way.
Oh, yeah.
But it's things that kids dealt with at the time, such as cyberbullying, to having an embarrassing incident.
But now I can't even get hard with two girls around. I think I might be impotent.
Ew.
And yeah, it seems overly positive to help someone out, but let's call the irony where we call it. And I'm sure by you looking at the art style, it definitely looks like an old Archie comic in some ways. Having all these characters with these weird, cherry eyes, besides Cassandra, yeah. But they're all given their own stylistic looks and characters, in which I do find really liking to them. It takes in modern problems, and they definitely need modern solutions. Like sexting! Because in one episode where one of the students gets their loot shared out, Marsh tries to resolve the issue by making things embarrassing, so they all can be equally embarrassed. But to throw the curveball, that Marsh never sent the D-pic till the end, and it's just there to show how cruel students could be. As someone that dealt with high school, hell yeah, they can be cruel sometimes. Emotions high, people being weird,
Whoa.
people being drug addicts, yeah, that's high school, baby. And to give a spotlight episode to this because it is such a cynical show
Sounds cool.
And kinky.
in a lot of ways, would be the episode where Amanda gets pregnant. In which I'm going to say this, I hate your parenting style, Mom. But overall, it's literally the abortion episode. I hate saying that, by the way. But in the most of ways, it actually brings up the situation of what would be right to do, in which Amanda really would want to take care of the baby, but finding out that it's a phantom pregnancy. To put it like this, I think that if you didn't have any idea what Moral Oral was, you would have probably thought that this was something that was at least cunning for the time. But since I know of Moral Oral because I shouldn't be watching Adult Swim as a kid, yeah, it kind of fell flat. But hey, at least there's an episode that actually makes a good parody joke about generational technology.
Hello?
Hi, Amber. I see you.
Oh, cool, it is working. This guy can see us.
No, I'm spying on you.
Even the series would have some controversies with the FCC, with the Best Friends Forever, where we learn Amanda's mom is a former, let's just say, adult actor. Lewd star if you prefer. It would be banished to Hulu, in which it would get picked back up when FXX actually took the block back. Now, did it really deserve the controversy? Not really. Family Guy's done worse. I'm guessing the moral of the story would be the worst of the controversy, in which looting things are okay, but looking things in the current lens, it's just another e-thought. Honestly, as stupid enough to watch and the spin on how people would react to these cliches that would be frowned upon, you don't get the idea of the parody and showing that's gone to the wayside now. At least they put some out-of-pocket dialogue, especially with Cassandra here. She might be my favorite character because of this.
About it. Do you know how hard it is to actually scalp someone? It's not like it is in the movie.
Biological parents, the Lus. You must be excited to meet them.
They're not my parents. They're just the monsters that made me Chinese. Actual gross toes.
Yeah.
We say go barefoot.
Hey, Cassandra. Mind if I cut in?
My older sister doesn't dance with nerds.
Next, we have the show that's more exclusive to the FXX version of animation high depth, and that would be Stone Quackers. In which, I hope you got the name, because that's literally what the show is about. Or that it's at least more implied with it, as it's more set on a fictional island named Cheeseburger Island, with our main characters, with Anne, Clay, Misadventures, with Barf, No Relations, and Dottie, in which the series would go into episodes of the same era of the mid-2010s with its own sense of humor. I'm sure that if you remember that kind of time period, weed jokes was the funniest thing that you could ever do.
I got that weed card. Shit!
And by this time, shows like Regular Show was kind of gaining its own popularity of the slackers genre. And I know the show did take some inspiration from home movies with how
very dangerous, very life-threatening body image issues.
We don't have body image issues.
Really? Because Barf, you sleepy.
Oh wait, did you just say
things are dialogued? Personally, I just didn't like this show. I think one of the bigger problems of shows that take inspiration like that, especially when a show is this popular, is the fact that they kind of don't really get why this was popular in the first place. It wasn't that this show was making the inside jokes, it was the fact that the show was making the inside jokes on a kid's show. I'm sure you remember how 2013 to 2015 internet was, where people were still making those conspiracy pictures of sex in Lion King, when really it's just FXX, or 10 adult jokes that slipped over your head as a child, or something like that. As it just more feels like that they had a plot that was somewhat decent, but yet they just couldn't stretch it out for that much, in which the B plot in a lot of episodes were just meh. Maybe it's just because I'm not really keen to this kind of sense of humor, but I just didn't like it, okay? I don't even describe it as me hating it. I'm just more indifferent about it.
Childhood ruined, no more barks, no more meows. Lazer.
Now, here's a show that was a little bit different, that was on the FXX part of the stint yet again, in which, did you know this guy actually makes music? No, neither did I, but I thought this was a cool character, in which it is a major in which he would be creating EDM scenes and getting his own story as he's getting the forces of the Jamaican president's White Wall and his rogues gallery, even having the president's daughter on his side, with episodes having a great tone and bright colors. And the time period in the mid-2010s was definitely a period that this definitely had its own little niche and prevalence with the jokes, but you know what? At least this one didn't have that as the joke. On second thought, I hate Stone Quackers.
Oh, okay, sit down. So you're gonna eat my hot dog. I'm eating it, okay? Okay?
But episodes would be structured with these major musical scenes that would help describe the tension of the situation, with that being the major selling point of each of these episodes, with being simple, with a lot of them basically learning something and it becoming the plot point. take the tenets of paradise, with the club missing out on the bass drop.
Hey yo, where'd the bass drop go?
Oh no!
With because of the teacher containing it and its chases of making him go electronic and going to help out of the black market. They beat him because of empathy, or even something that would be actually a nice fun twist now because of vampires kind of being a former trend that it was in that time period, that this was actually a really cool one, that it actually gone to the wayside and actually goes into playing into being a real vampire and not just a glistering one. This one was actually supposed to have a second season, but with things going on with its own situations, that it would actually be canceled. But the Major Lazer YouTube channel does have these episodes out, so if you do want to watch these in the easiest of ways possible, it is right there. In which one of the fun facts that you'd probably notice in this is that Loiter Squad is in here, as they were known at the time as Odd Future Collective, and even having Jay-Z. And listen, I don't want to give any more suggestions on the show when I can just clearly say, when you look at these visuals, it's definitely a show that I think that you would just want to watch because of how beautiful that these scenes look. And plus, I'm not gonna lie, I am someone that says pretty colors.
Perhaps the next clue. Did you just rip that entire bong?
Jake the Snake!
Oh snap, is this dude. Repossession, man. What are you doing?
Now, as much I've delved in with the others, I think I would actually really put as my #1 show to be the Lucas Brothers Moving Company. As well, the main reason is that I just got a lot of the references, okay? And listen, as a wrestling fan, when you have a show that does references like this and it's not just very dumbed down version of things, you kind of give an appreciation towards it.
Oh, snap. My arch nemesis, the old steer. Hell, I thought you were a fan.
But let me actually talk about the Lucas Brothers for a moment. That the brothers would actually get their first notoriety around 2012 on being on Jimmy Fallon, as for most of the time that they were comedians. Oh, True TV would actually give them their own show, that being Friends of the People.
You know you can't hear. Once you start talking to white people, you can't hear black people no more.
That's true, man.
With the brothers and other comedians doing their own forms of sketch comedy. But some will remember them for being in 22 Jump Street. I remember them for being on this channel block, as the show is really more about two brothers that have a moving company that likes to get high sometimes and go on wild adventures. You can tell that I don't like stone crackers, don't you? It's like the third time I've mentioned it now. I think the gag is dead, as the show would actually delve into more nostalgia humor. Take that episode I just mentioned with Jake Roberts, as the whole plot is, as they help them move in, they find out that his secret plan is to DDT, then getting the aid of Sting to defeat him.
As much as it pains me, I have no choice because you're so evil.
These episodes really do great with more relativity of that time period, especially with like black culture and television, and especially in the 90s, where if you know stuff like Eddie Murphy, professional wrestling, Jaleel White, you'll definitely know a lot of the references that they give because it just targets that right there. And I know, especially around this time, it was a known thing that a lot of millennials would just post only 90s kids would remember so many times before that, you want to blow your brains out. I mean, they did a whole episode of vampires in Brooklyn as a episode concept. Like, who does that then and now? No one. You need the ball knowledge for that. Even with the show being such a success and getting that appearance of 22 Jump Street like I mentioned, some of it thought that the series was lazy, but it did gain a good following considering that it was one of the shows that would actually get onto the block more times than anyone. I think that the one thing that this show really did, out of all of them, because we still got a couple more left to go, is that it kind of hit the right spot, especially, like I said, in that time period of the popular shows that gained its own little appreciation over time. It is one of those shows that you can totally tell that they definitely wanted to put effort in every single episode, especially when you start to see other shows that kind of totally would have fit into that spot right between those on Adult Swim most times. I honestly think that this show should have gotten picked up somewhere because it totally would have gained a new demographic that a lot of shows that it would have fit in with. The only problem was just that it was on this block, if anything.
How did they stretch this premise out to 4 seasons?
Cheers. And then there's one of you in a diaper.
Just finish me.
Hey, I'm not judging.
Crusher of will, impregnator of the unimpregnable!
Now we're going to the one that I would more or less classify as the most successful out of all these shows, and that would be Golan the Insatiable. Now, the show was considered best because this one actually got onto the Sunday block. It may have been the spring block, but hey, beggars can't be choosers, right?
Your dad doesn't think I'm family because I've never done anything nice for him.
As the show would stop being 10-minute shorts and actually go into a full 22, this show would be another show in Fox's catalog of shows that probably wouldn't have gotten anything done if it was given another season. The series is from Josh Miller, developed by Dave Jesser and Matt Savali, of a demigod warlord got summoned by a golf girl named Dylan in Minnesota. Because being transported from his kingdom and falling, now he wants to reclaim his kingdom by building up his power yet again. Now, me as a kid back then, I didn't really mind this show. I knew of this show because, let's be real, I'm sure that if you've been on the internet long enough, you know the user I'm talking about that had Dylan as their profile picture. I'm not gonna say anything else, but you know what I'm talking about. But from me actually remembering that this show actually did get into the spring block, it actually did the thing that I really don't like when shows do, and that is actually get these shows bundled onto the lineup. As to me, that the style, it really just didn't fit as much as I thought it would, as it kind of targeted more of a watercoloring style. As to me, it just kind of didn't fit the style, with especially with a name like Golan the Insatiable. Like, why are these characters round? This just looks like an argument that somebody on Twitter would use for the Cal art style. I can at least say that I actually somewhat did enjoy the sense of humor that it had. Yeah, it was a little childish, but it was more of that blunt jokes that you would hear on the internet back in the day, but with viewers' discretion advised, because let's be real,
And chicks do not dig single dads with special needs kids.
Unless it's what's happening. This is real.
it was something from the Something Awful forums. Yes, old internet struck gold yet again. And just to give a little bit of context, it was just one of the original websites that people will go on to, like similar like to YTMND, or let's just put it as it's part of 2000s internet, okay? But to me, this show just kind of feels like that this was just made in the wrong place at the wrong time. Because weirdly enough, I can totally see this being a show that would have had a cult following later on into the 2000s, or even around now in the 2020s, just because of how people are with these kind of things, that this would have totally gotten more people intrigued by it. But with that, I think also the bigger issue is that I do think that the show actually needed a straight man more, because it's just that weird point where it's close enough to Axe Cop, but instead of being so absurd, it's just dark in its humor. But listen, I was more surprised that this got a second season, because it was just a weird time around that time block, because you had something like Border Town getting greenlit for a season on Fox. Now, to rip the band-aid off, Fox ADHD was pretty much a failure, in which in its first year, they really wanted to just push it out, because of the simple fact that it just wasn't getting the demo. Because let's be real, normies were flopping, and the people that would be staying inside, they wouldn't be putting on Fox, they'd probably be gaming or something. A lot of these shows would be moved from Fox to FXX, in which around that time, FXX was in like a really weird period where they just like acquired these old channels in which they would just cycle them on all day, Like, who remembers when they had the whole Simpsons marathon where they literally just put Simpsons on for 24/7? But I think a bigger issue would come awry because of college football. Now, I am not getting into this because it's something really funny, but it's just something that you kind of have to understand, and understanding when something gains priority. See, Fox in that time slot, the one thing that, broadcasters really wanted was something to fill in time. This is why you kind of see reruns, or they just put local ad programming because of syndication. But nonetheless, the main reason why I really think that it failed was because that it was in that spot where college football was. Because around that time, the PAC, aka the Pacific Athletic Conference, signed a deal with Fox that they would get their games to be broadcast on their network. But the biggest catch of it was that a lot of these games were on the West Coast, because guess what? Who's stupid enough to put West Coast games on Eastern times? So a lot of times that these games that would be starting up and continuing on would be hitting these channel blocks, in which the Pacific Coast Conference would actually sign a deal with Fox. And so they would get their games around a later time slot in the Pacific time zone, not in the Eastern time zone, Pacific time zone. So let that sink in for a moment. So when you're going to be trying to watch this programming, a lot of times when college football, tends to drag a bit, maybe there's a little rain delay, or it's just that the game is just not going as fast as it should, it would overtake that part of the time. This would happen a couple times with Fox that are on Sundays, but a lot of times that they would just make an announcement saying, hey, if you wanted to watch this, we're airing this episode here, or they'll probably just figure out a time that would be perfect for it. But a lot of times that they just consider this and they would just throw it away. Now, personally, I do think that we're in kind of a better place with these kind of shows now, because of the simple fact that people can actually show how much they are interested in a show and their engagement, and not just try to take on whatever the Nielsen ratings say about a show or what critics think. We can actually just see by view counts, likes and dislike ratios, and all those other things. But hey, we would probably not have a lot of shows that we would find and fall in love with without them at least having a chance of being on one of these kind of blocks. And so, give appreciation towards these. I don't think a lot of them are really the greatest things on earth, but I can at least give appreciation that they try it on a lot of these. Hi, if you actually gotten this far, I do appreciate that you got here, and I hope that you enjoyed me covering all of these, because this one was like 2 years in the making. I had this script done for like 2 years. I just couldn't find like good quality rips of like a couple of the shows. But nonetheless, I appreciate that if you've gotten this far. Leave a like if you like the video. Comment down your favorite, because guess what? I really want that engagement. But nonetheless, I hope that you have a great rest of your day. And if you're watching this at night, good night. Bye.
Turns out my biggest turn on is friendship.